locus standi na po tayo, no? So, he must have a personal and substantial interest in the case that he has sustained or will sustain direct injury as a result of its enforcement. Normally po sa locus standi, ang magiging tanong po sa atin, nasa exceptions, no? Kasi napaka-obvious, napaka-basic. If the petitioner actually sustained injuries, napakasimple po niyan. Pag ang tinakilang natin yung may injury ba o wala. Kasi pag may injury yan, may locus standi, may legal standing. So, if matatanong po tayo sa locus standi normally, nag-revolve po siya sa exceptions, no? Will any of the exceptions apply assuming na wala pong injury yung party, yung petitioner? Okay, so ito po yung mga exceptions, no? Uulitin ko, hindi ko ulitin, sasabihin ko pala, no? Yung transcendental importance, ito po, ina-apply to normally ng Supreme Court, no? Kasi nakita nyo nga ulit, relax na naman. Why? Because of public interest. Okay, so ito po, no, para sa akin, this is something that the Supreme Court, no, na the Supreme Court will apply, di ba? Pero pag tinanong tayo as a trial court judge, parang ang hirap. No? Parang ang hirap siyang i-invoke kasi sino lang po ba ang nakakapag-relax ng matters of procedure? Supreme Court lang, di ba? The trial court judges, no, yung mga justices ng appellate courts, no, na hindi Supreme Court, hindi po tayo dapat di ba? Hindi dapat relax ng rules, di ba? Only the Supreme Court can relax the rules that it promulgated. So para sa akin po, mahirap mag-apply yung transcendental importance for the purposes of the bar examinations. Okay siya sa litigation na talaga, no? Kasi, well, sa Supreme Court, no? So sa akin, patandaan lang natin siya, pero I don't think matatanong po tayo in a way na transcendental importance ang itatanong natin. Kasi ulitin ko, if ang tanong sa atin is if you are a trial court judge, no, how would you rule the petition? We cannot relax. Matters of procedure, di ba? Okay, next. Facial challenges involving free speech. So, patandaan niyo po, pag facial challenge, pag sinabi niyo facial challenge, void in all instances. No? Sa lahat ng pagkakataon, void ang kolon na to, sabihin natin. Ang kalaban ng facial challenge yung as applied. It is only unconstitutional with respect to this person, as applied to this person. But in other instances, we will uphold its constitutionality. Okay, so pag sinabi mo facial challenge, void in all instances. May dalawa yan, no? Void for vagueness at saka yung overbreadth doctrine. We will tackle this sa section 4, article 3 na lang sa Constitution na lang. Pero ito po, any person, no, can file a petition, no, to facially challenge, no, a law, an order, a regulation that allegedly violated the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression. Hindi po nag-a-apply, no? Any person can file this. Okay, next is yung, well, ilas pala natin yung third party standing. Citizen suit muna tayo when the proceeding involves the assertion of a public right. The mere fact that he is a citizen satisfies the requirement of personal interest. Normally po ito kapag constitutional rights ang involved, no? Article 3. Next is taxpayer. So, when is taxpayer suit available? Dalawa. If mayroong tax law, malamang. Okay? Train law, mga ganyan, no? Next is if there was an expenditure of public funds, no? Saan ba inallocate ang pera ng gobyerno, no? Not necessarily illegal disbursement, pero pag nagkaroon ng expenditure of public funds, taxpayer suit po will be available, no? Pag taxpayer tayo, kahit na yung expenditure, no, hindi naman tayo involved dyan kasi sabihin natin, yung gobyerno bibigyan ng pera ang mga, ano ba, saan ba? Para sa mga PWDs, mga ganyan. Tingnan natin, o para sa mga may kapansanan. Kahit na wala pong kapansanan yung taxpayer, he can file a petition assailing that, no? Next is legislator. Okay, basahin na lang yan. Hindi masyadong matatanong yan. Dito tayo sa third party standing. Now, what does this mean? Okay? Meron po tatlong requisites to. If I remember correctly. Tama. Next, first requisite is there must be an injury suffered by the petitioner, the litigant. The litigant must suffer an injury in fact. Okay? Yun ang kailangan lang. Giving him or her a sufficiently concrete interest. Basta may injury. Pero tandaan natin, paano po bang magkakaroon ng locus standi? Direct. Ayan. No? Wala naman tayo nagkatalo. Sa adjective na naman, di ba? Paano po magkakaroon ng locus standi? This person will sustain or has sustained direct injury. Siya mismo talaga yung direktang tinamaan. Sa kanya, sapul na sapul sa kanya. Dito po sa third party standing, yung pong petitioner dito, indirect injury. There was an injury but indirect. Okay? Pag direct yung injury ng litigant, hindi mo na kailangan sabihing third party standing yan. Talagang pasok siya sa meaning talaga ng locus standi here. Okay? Are we good? We're good. Okay, next tayo. Injury suffered by the litigant. Indirect injury. Next. There must be a the litigant, the petitioner, must have a close relation to the third party, no? The third party, and the third party has the personal and substantial interest. He sustained, will sustain direct injury. Okay, basically, may relasyon po siya dun sa totoong nagkaroon ng direct injury. Nakasuffer siya ng injury, pero hindi siya yung naka-direct injury. Although meron siyang close relation dun sa nagkaroon ng direct injury. And lastly, there is hindrance on the part of the third party to protect his interest. No? So he has no ability to file a petition or there is a hindrance in filing the petition. So, ito pong litigant, itong petitioner ang nag-file. Kasi hindi po makapag-file yung third party na talagang nakasuffer ng direct injury. Meron po tayong dalawang illustrations dito. Pareho pong hinango, parehong kinuha sa mga kaso. Okay, first is yung White Light Corporation versus City of Manila. In this case po, ang nag-file ng petition, yung mga motel owners, yung mga operators. Pero ang nagkaroon, kasi po, ano po ba yung nangyari dito? Gumawa po ng ordinansa ang Maynila, sabi bawal ang short time. Maiksi, mga 3 hours, no? 6 hours, bawal daw yan. Hindi, ang nakasuffer po talaga ng direct injury dito, yung mga customers. Diba? Yung mga nag-a-avail ng serbisyo ng motel, ng hotel, ng inn for short time. Sila, kasi yung freedom po nila ang na-infringe eh. Okay? Hindi naman po yung motel, hindi po yung motel ang nagkaroon ng direct injury. Okay? Kasi hindi naman sila yung nakakapag-operate pa naman sila. It's just that di sila pwedeng makapag-operate ng ah pang short time. Ibabaguhin lang nila yung kanilang parang services offered. Pero ang nakasuffer po talaga, personally nito, direct nito, yung mga customers. Okay. Pero did the hotel, motel, inn owners, operators, did they suffer an injury? Yes, because their income suffered because of this ordinance. No? Kasi syempre, yung customer nila na gusto ng short time, hindi na makapag-avail ng short time. So, nabawasan yung revenue nila, yung sales. Okay? Ngayon, does the mall operator, does the inn operator, does the hotel owner, no? Meron ba silang close relation to the customers? Yes. Ang close relation nila, sila yung contracting parties. 'Di ba? The service, ang magbibigay ng serbisyo yung hotel, ang magbebayad, no? Ang mag-a-avail ng serbisyo yung customers. So meron po silang close relation. And then lastly, meron pong hindrance, may inability. Ano ba? Merong anong tawag doon? Wala pong inclination. There is no inclination, prevention, di ba, on the part of the customers to file this petition in court. Okay? Alam natin kung bakit, no? Kung bakit hindi pwede mag-file, di ba? Okay. Anyway, ayan, no, there is hindrance on the part of the customers because people will be reluctant in filing the petition due to suspicion from their partners. Alam naman natin, no, ito na lang, real talk na lang tayo, guys, di ba? Kasi kaya po binanding niya, no? Kasi ang connotation po sa short time, yung mga, ano siya, for, para sa mga lustful desires natin, no? Sa mga desires natin behind closed doors. Siyempre, kung yung customer may asawa na, hindi magpa-file yan, di ba? Of course, di siya magpa-file kasi he would be reluctant, she would be reluctant from filing this petition kasi baka sabihin, ba't ka naman gusto-gusto mong ipa-asilo constitutionality nito, may ginagawa ka bang kakaiba na hindi ko alam. There is hindrance, no? May hindrance, may hindi siya inclined, hindi sila inclined to file. the petition. Sino po maging incline dyan? Siyempre, yung motel operators, yung hotel operators, yung inoperators, kasi sila, naapektuhan yung pera nila. So, walang suspicion. Talagang kami, final namin petition na to kasi nabababa yung kita namin eh. Okay, so, may third party standing po. Even if the hotel operators, inoperators did not suffer direct injury or will not suffer direct injury from the ordinance, no? Kasi ang nakasuffer po ng direct ordinance, yung mga customers, they can still file this petition as an exception to the general rule. Okay? They suffered an indirect injury. Tandaan natin. Another illustration of third-party standing, ito po, no? The U.S. Supreme Court held that a licensed beverage vendor has standing to raise the equal protection claim of a male customer challenging a statutory scheme prohibiting the sale of beer to males under the age of 21 and to females under the age of 18. The U.S. High Court explained that the vendors had standing by acting as advocates of the rights of third parties who seek access to their market or function. So in this case po, ang nakasuffer ng direct injury ulit dahil um, hindi sila makabili ng alak, ang nakasuffer ng injury talaga direct yung mga customers ulit. Pero meron din pong injury yung parang same way, no? Meron din pong injury na nasuffer yung mga nagbebenta ng alak kasi naapektuhan yung income nila. Kasi customer yun eh, no? Sayang pera, no? May close relation din sila kasi customer buyer-seller relationship, 'di ba? Ng produkto. Tapos lastly, meron pong hindrance, merong alam niyo na, may reluctance, 'yan. Yung ating mga customers to file the petition kasi sabihin baka na ba't lasinggero ka ba? Something like that, no? Okay, so that means kahit po hindi nakasuffer ng direct injury yung mga licensed beverage vendors, they can file the petition as an exception to the general rule sa locus standi. Okay, let's go to earliest possible opportunity, no? Ito po, hindi ko masyadong pinipredict na matatanong to, no? So, as a general rule, the question of constitutionality must be raised at the earliest possible opportunity. So, dapat i-raise siya sa pleadings. Okay? So, pag hindi mo siya ni-raise sa pleadings, yung yung question of constitutionality ng isang ordinance sa isang order, hindi mo na siya pwedeng i-raise later on, even during trial, even during appeal. Actually, this more of mas natatakil yung concept nato sa remedial law, di ba? Anyway, so yan po nakalagay naman sa nakalagay sa locus standi. This rule is subject to exception This rule which is subject to exceptions is applicable. Okay. This rule which is subject to exceptions is applicable to criminal cases. No? So kahit sa criminal cases, if hindi natin ni-raise yung unconstitutionality nung penal law, nung penal provision, sabihin natin sa isang special law, hindi natin siya ni-raise sa pleadings pa lang natin, ni-raise lang natin siya sa trial, hindi na po siya pwedeng i-tackle ng Supreme Court. Ay, ng court, ng trial court. No? Hindi na siya pwedeng i-address na. Hindi na siya dapat, hindi siya pwede, hindi na siya dapat i-address. No? Okay. Ito po isang exception, no? The Supreme Court held that the requirement that the constitutional issue be raised at the earliest opportunity refers only to raising the issue in a competent court. Here, the Office of the Ombudsman, before which proceedings against Hippolyte were had, is not a competent court but only an administrative body. Hence, Hippolyte may still raise the issue of constitutionality before the Court of Appeals. What does this mean? Admin case, no? Hindi ni-raise do sa admin case before the ombudsman, sabi natin public officer yung no, isususpinde, no, tatanggalin sa trabaho. Hindi ni-raise yung yung constitutionality nung sabi natin nung law do sa ombudsman. Kailan lang siya na-erase? Nung na-erase ni-review na siya ng Court of Appeals. Kasi paano ba ang no, pag admin case Rule 43? If my memory serves me right, Rule 43 to the Court of Appeals, no? Tapos kapag yeah, tama naman ako, no? So doon lang ni-raise. Sabi po ng court pwede. Why? Kasi hindi naman po competent court, hindi naman court ang ombudsman. Obviously. Okay, so kailan po nagkaroon ng court? Nung Court of Appeals na, nung in-appeal na yung judgment, nung nag-file na ng petition for review to the Court of Appeals. So in that case, pwede pa siyang erase. No? Okay. Lismota, okay. Just read this one. It must be the main issue of the case. No? Hindi dapat siya, ah, hindi siya dapat secondary issue. Dapat yung talaga yung pinaglalaban. Dapat ma-acquit ako kasi unconstitutional yung law. Ganon. Sige, you get the point, no? Okay. Ito, ano lang po ito, no? Exercise lang para sa atin, no? You can just read these examples. Nagdagdag ako ng dalawang examples here. So that you can, ito po, no? Hindi na to about lang sa Lismota. About na po to sa buong um, natakil natin so far. Judicial power versus judicial review. What are the requisites of judicial review? Mga ganyan po. Okay, sige. Let's go to operative fact doctrine. So ano po ba ibig sabihin nito? Basahin nyo na lang to. Pero ito gusto kong matandaan nyo, no? Kasi this is how you can spiritualize, master, never forget operative fact doctrine. Operative fact doctrine means, no, that the Supreme Court will nullify the void law or executive act, but it will sustain the effects of the law or the executive act. Okay, so it nullifies the void law, but it sustains its effects. So pag mas mahaba po, no, ito medyo mas mahaba, pero kung kaya natin, sabihin din natin, no? When a law is unconstitutional, no? Its effects prior to the declaration of its unconstitutionality, prior to the declaration of its unconstitutionality will be undisturbed due to equity and fair play. So tatlo kailangan tandaan. Effects, undisturbed, equity. Pag dito naman, nullify, sustain effect. O, ganun lang. Nullify the law, sustain the effect. Okay, so paano po itong nangyayari, no? So paano kayo matatanong dito normally? Matatanong po kayo, iniisip ko talaga paano kayo matatanong, di ba? Ang tanungan dito, ang prediction ko matatanong kayo pag may sub-questions. So unang tanong sa inyo, pwede dyan, is the law unconstitutional? Or is the law decide, di ba? On the constitutionality of the law or the executive order or whatever governmental act it may be. That's the first question. And second, should ABC department o ABC corporation return, diba? Reimburse, ganun, something like that yung magiging tanong sa inyo. Unang sagot nyo doon sa A, unconstitutional siya, di ba? Para consistent yung sagot nyo. Then letter B, no. Despite the unconstitutionality of the law, the effects of its effects will be left undisturbed as a matter of equity and fair play. Ito po mga usual examples, no? And hindi ko na pala gagamitin to para mas ako na lang, no? Agawa na lang ako yung basahin, pwede niyo naman basahin to. Gagawa na lang ako ng sarili kong example ngayon off the top of my head. Sabihin natin, PDAF. PDAF is unconstitutional. No? Why? Kasi it violated the doctrine of separation of powers, among others. No? Why? Kasi the executive department has the power to execute laws, while the Congress has the power to enact. Ay, wait lang. The executive department has the power to execute laws, while the Congress, no, the legislative department has the power to enact laws. Included na po dito yung paggawa ng budget. Yan po ang role ng Congress. Ang nangyari po sa PDAF, ginawa na po ng budget, Senate at saka House na po ang gumawa ng budget ng Pilipinas, sila pa po ang nag-execute. Kasi sila gumawa ng budget tapos binigyan din sila ng authority to give funds sa mga NGOs and so on. That is an unconstitutional act, no? From the o by the Congress. Ngayon, sabihin natin, nagbigay ng 100 million yung isang congressman sa isang NGO para sa mga batang may sakit. Ginamit na yung 100 million, no, binigay na sa mga batang may sakit. Na-declare po na unconstitutional yung law kasi nga it violated the doctrine of separation of powers. The question is, kailangan bang ibalik, no, nung NGO yung 100 million na binigay sa kanila? Kasi nga unconstitutional eh. No. As a matter of equity and fair play. Di ba? So, the effects of this unconstitutional appropriation law, no? Yung pagbigay ng pera ng isang congressman sa NGO, kahit na unconstitutional siya, undisturbed na po yung effects nito kasi equity and fair play. Okay, I hope you get the point. Next. Political question doctrine, okay. So ito po no, pinahabol ko na lang din no kasi nung araw no bago po yung 1987 Constitution, ang defense talaga ko para hindi po alam niyo na, ma-block yung mga actions sa Supreme Court ng judiciary. Sinasabi dati na hindi political question. To this is a question of wisdom. Policy wisdom yan ng executive department. So dapat hindi po pwedeng makialam ang judiciary. Okay. Consistent na rin siya sa separation of powers. Kaya po nagkaroon ng grave abuse of discretion nakalagay sa 1987. Because of that, kasi hindi na po porket may political question yan, hindi na siya pwedeng i-annul, i-set aside ng judiciary. Okay? Because of that. Kaya dahil dati na-abuse nga yung political question doctrine. So ngayon, in-address ng issue na yan, ayan na tayo sa grave abuse of discretion. Kahit na political question yan, if there was grave abuse on your part, pwede po siyang i-annul. No? So political question is a question of policy or wisdom, whether exercised by the people or by a department. Okay. It is to be exercised by the people in their primary political capacity or specifically delegated to some other department with discretionary power to act. Example, yung mga paggawa ng implementing rules and regulations, paggawa ng law, no? Yan po yung mga political questions ng hindi pala masyado pala siyang big. Ano ba? Yung sabihin natin na lang, let's make it more specific, no? Yung internal rules, no? Yung parang conduct during paano magdisiplina ng member ng isang Senate, paano magdisiplina ng senador, paano magdisiplina ng congressman, no? May meron silang rules of procedure diyan. Yan po, political question yan, no? It's a question of policy, question of wisdom that is delegated to the Congress. Sila bahala mag-determine paano po ang rules of procedure nila pag magdidiscipline sila ng miyembro nila. That's their discretion. Pero sabihin natin, nagkaroon ng grave abuse of discretion. Ano po example? Sabihin natin, pag hindi naka-attend ng dalawang meeting, ng dalawang disciplinary, nung parang proceeding nila, no, to discipline their members, hindi nakakating, suspended na agad. Ganun kahigpit. Hindi naka-attendan twice, suspended ka agad. Ganun. Penalty o agad suspension. Pwede po siyang strike down na Supreme Court kasi nagkaroon ng grave abuse of discretion. So before po kahit na political question po siya, naging na siyang justiciable question because of grave abuse. So ganyan po 'yun, no? Political question, if you mix grave abuse of discretion with it, nagiging pong justiciable question yung issue. Okay? Sige. Okay. Does judicial restraint apply in our courts? No. Ano pa ibig sabihin ng judicial restraint, no? The court will refuse from uh, resolving the issue. Yun ang ibig sabihin niyan. Pwedeng due to courtesy, no? Pagalang na lang sa kabilang departamento, naka-equal natin. So the courts will exercise restraint. The court will refuse from resolving it. Does this apply in our courts? No. Kasi kaya ako po pala kaya ba't tinabalikan natin kasi sa section 1, sa section nga po na ito nakalagay, section 1 tuloy. Section 1 sa section 1, no? Ba't ba may tunag? Tama naman pala ako, section 1, nag-double guess pa ako. Section 1 nakalagay diyan, judicial power includes the duty of the courts of justice. Nakalagay po duty. Pag sinabi mong duty, you cannot exercise judicial restraint kasi it's your obligation to resolve issues if there was an actual controversy or there was a grave abuse of discretion. You cannot refuse from settling the dispute, from resolving the dispute. So, hindi pwede ang judicial restraint sa Philippines. Okay, let's move to the next topic, no? Ito na tayo, no, yung mga powers, yung mga ano na, no, parang characteristics, powers ng authorities ng Supreme Court ng Judiciary. So the Supreme Court is a constitutional body. It may not be abolished by the legislature. Okay? Unlike po yung Court of Appeals, Regional Trial Court, and so on, lower courts, they are statutory bodies. They are created by the law. Okay. The members of the Supreme Court are removable only by impeachment or a petition for quo warranto against an against an illegible. Ano yan? Hindi maganda sumulat. Ineligible public official for acts committed prior to the appointment. So, isa lang naman po yung nakuha to sa Philippines, no? Si Chief Justice Sereno lang po, no? Why? Kasi daw, ineligible siya unqualified siya from becoming a justice in the first place. Okay? Mahaba yung kaso na yan, pero isang probity ang naging ang naging dahilan bakit hindi niya na-comply yung qualification of probity for yun nga failure to file yung SALN ng multiple years. Okay. Essentially, yun po yung ruling dyan. Pero yan, marami siyang na-touch na issues, no? May remedial law concept pa yan, no? Like, kasi sa remedial law, ang Rule 66, mayroong prescriptive period, yung pagpa-file ng co-warrant to petition. Pero sabi dyan, prescription does not apply against or does not lie against the state. Along mga ganun, no? And dyan po sa kaso na yan, pinag-differentiate din po ang impeachment at saka co-warrant to. Okay. Ngayon, ito na pala yung no? Pakibasa na lang to. Republic versus Reno. Okay. Okay. Well, ayan na nga yun. I will make this, simpler. Wait lang. Again ko mas simple, haba nung facts. Ito po mas paiksi, no? So, from 1986 to 2016, si X, a lawyer, was a court attorney. So, he was a government employee. At alam naman po natin, pag government employee tayo, regardless kung anong posisyon, kailangan natin nagka-file ng SALN every year. However, si X, nagsabit lang po siya ng SALN from 2009 to 2011. So, maraming taon, no? Almost 20 years na hindi siya nag-file ng SALN. Okay. So later, he was appointed as a Justice of the Supreme Court. So ano nangyari? Nag-file po ang Solicitor General ng co-warrant of petition against X. Tanong, is this a proper remedy to remove X, an impeachable officer? Kasi alam naman natin, Justice of the Supreme Court is an impeachable officer. The answer is yes. Unang-una po, as the Constitution denotes, no? Nakalagay po diyan may. So ibig sabihin, hindi po exclusive, hindi po sole remedy to remove a justice of the Supreme Court ang impeachment. There are other ways to remove him from his position, such as quo warranto petition. Okay? So ngayon, pag sinabi natin quo warranto kasi, we're alleging that this person is unqualified from becoming an officer, from becoming a public officer do sa position na ibinigay sa kanya. Ineligible, unqualified. So, was X unqualified? Yes, no? Kasi sabi po, pag justice tayo ng Supreme Court, ng isang requirement, no? Kailangan of proven competence, integrity, probity, and independence, no? So, what does that mean, no? Isa-isahin natin. Pag sinabi mo competent ka, alam mo ang batas. Alam mo ang rules. Diba? You know the law, basically. Pag sinabi mong independence, 'di ba, you are free from outside control. Walang kumokontrol sa yung ibang tao. At yung pong integrity sa probity, medyo siya, similar. Pag sinabi kasing may integridad ka, no? Ah, anyway, nilay ko naman dito, titingnan ko ulit, no? Sinabi mo kasing may integrity ka, it means, no, adherence to the highest moral standards and obedience to laws and legislation. So, ibig sabihin, you are obedient. Pag sinabi mo competent, you know the law. Pag sinabi mo may integrity ka, you obey the law. Eh, paano naman ang probity? You are an honest and decent person. So, parang, di ba? Ano sila eh? Anong tawag dito? Similar. Kasi kung honest ka at decente kang tao, sumusunod ka rin sa batas. Okay? So, with that being said, pwede pong matanggal sa trabaho, matanggal sa posisyon si X because hindi po siya of proven. No? He was not able to prove that he possessed the qualities of integrity and probity, making him ineligible, no? For the position of Justice of the Supreme Court. So, pwede siya matanggal. Essentially, no? Okay, yan po yung Republic versus Reno case. Sige. Move tayo to other topics no, sa ano dito sa Article 8. Okay, so ito po essentially, no, pinaiksi natin yung kaso na ano, no, yung Republic versus Reno, ganito din nangyari doon essentially, no. Dati siyang public official kasi po tandaan natin lahat ng public official sa gobyerno kailangan nagpa-file ng SALN yearly, no. Ano man ang posisyon natin, ano man ang salary grade, no. So kailangan mag-file ng SALN. Ngayon, for so many years hindi po siya nakapag-file. Nag-file lang siya ilang taon lang. So later on, na-appoint siya as Supreme Court Justice. So ngayon nag-file po yung OSG ng petition for quo warranto sa alleging that uh, si X, in this case, sa example natin, not qualified to become an Associate Justice. So a Justice of the Supreme Court, whether Associate Justice or Chief Justice. Okay. So in this case po, no, since X was an impeachable officer kasi nga justice siya ng Supreme Court, yung po bang kawaran to proper remedy? The answer is yes, no? Ayan. Eto. Ito po yung sagot, no? So let's move to the next topic. No? The Supreme Court cannot be deprived of its jurisdiction. Nabanggit ko na to no, earlier. And along with that, no, along with that, hindi natin siya pwedeng i-deprive ang jurisdiction, hindi rin po natin pwedeng i-increase ang jurisdiction ng Supreme Court without its advice and concurrence. So ito po, no, paano po bang ma-i-increase ang jurisdiction ng Supreme Court? Through a law. No? Kasi syempre, yan po ang context ng Section 30 Article 6. No? You increase it by passing a law. Siyempre, pwede mo i-increase yan by amending the Constitution pero hindi po yan ang konteksto ng Section 30 Article 6. Ang konteksto po niyan, i-increase natin by law. Pwede po ba yun? Pwede. Pero dapat may concurrence, may advice ng Supreme Court na sige, i-extend mo yung jurisdiction namin. Pero kung wala, hindi pwede. So that law becomes unconstitutional. Okay? Unang-una, you cannot deprive the Supreme Court of its jurisdiction. Ano po, kahit nga po ano ito lang kahit nga hindi nakalagay itong section 2 na yan eh. Even if it is not written, hindi mo talaga pwedeng i-deprive yung Supreme Court of its jurisdiction under Section 5, Article 8. Why? Kasi, pag diniprive mo siya, constitutional supremacy. Di ba nakasulat dyan, merong power ang Supreme Court to modify, revise, yung decisions of the lower courts. Sabihin natin, babaguhin yan. Kahit na wala po yung Section 2, Article 8 na to stating this sentence, stating this clause, hindi mo pa rin pwedeng i-deprive through a law kasi nga it would violate naman yung the doctrine of constitutional supremacy, di ba? Fundamental law of the land, so it will prevail over laws enacted by Congress. So you get the point, no? You get the point. Okay. Dito tayo ulit sa Section 30, Article 6, no? Dito sa increasing the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court without its advice and concurrence. So classic case po ito yung Morales, Conchita Carpio Morales versus Court of Appeals and si Junjun Binay, no? Dito po sa kaso na ito, Section 14 ng RA 6770 or the Ombudsman Act states that may dalawang paragraphs po, no? At parehong paragraphs unconstitutional daw, no? Itakil natin kung ano yung mga provisions na to. No writ of injunction shall be issued by any court to delay an investigation being conducted by the Ombudsman unless there is a prima facie evidence that the subject matter of the investigation is outside the jurisdiction of the Office of the Ombudsman. So the first paragraph is unconstitutional. But ba ineffective ang nakalagay ito? Unconstitutional because it violates the doctrine of separation of powers. Why? No writ of injunction shall be issued by any court. Diba? Sino po ba ang may power, rule-making power sa mga injunction? Court, Supreme Court, ang um, nag-i-impose ng rules with respect to injunction kasi power po yan ng courts. Tapos, ginawan po ng law na bawal daw mag-issue ng writ of injunction yung court pag nagkaaroon ng investigation ang ombudsman as a general rule. This is unconstitutional because it violates the doctrine of separation of powers. Okay? Kasi kasali po yan sa power ng Supreme Court, di ba? Inherent power ang tawag dyan, di ba? Yung injunction, no? Wait, inherent power tuloy. Ano, pag preliminary injunction, provisional remedy, lumipad yung utak ko. Provisional remedy po yan. Okay? So, hindi pwede. No? Hindi pwedeng tanggalin ng Congress yung power na ito ng Supreme Court. Ayan, no? Under the Constitution, the court has the power to promulgate rules concerning the protection and enforcement of constitutional rights. Pleading practice procedure. Here the issuance of an injunction, which is a provisional, dapat preliminary, of a preliminary injunction. Yan. Kasi pag sinabi mong injunction, that can be a main action. So, hindi laging provisional remedy. The issuance of a preliminary injunction, which is a provisional remedy, cannot be prohibited by law. Otherwise, the Congress will encroach upon the rulemaking power of the court, which will violate the doctrine of separation of powers. Ito po yung second paragraph. No court shall hear any appeal or application for remedy against the decisions or findings of the Ombudsman except the Supreme Court on pure questions of law. So sabihin natin, nagkaroon ng finding sa admin case, yung Ombudsman sabi, tanggalin sa trabaho itong public official na to. Pwede yun, di ba? Admin case. Sabi po ng RA 6770, ang reviewing body niyan, Supreme Court lang daw, wala nang iba. Yun lang. Tama po ba yun o hindi? Yung provision na yan, mali yun, unconstitutional. Why? Because ang naging resulta po is we increased the jurisdiction, the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court without its advice and concurrence. So, Section 30, Article 6 na violate. Yan. Okay? So, both paragraphs po, unconstitutional. The first paragraph, violation ng Doctrine of Separation of Powers. Second paragraph, violation ng Section 30, Article 6. Move tayo to the next one. The Supreme Court has administrative supervision over all the courts and personnel thereof. What does this mean? Punta po tayo sa example dito na, na meron tayo. Wait, nasan ba yung example na yun? Eto, dito. Napunta sa dulo. Iayos na lang natin to sa, pag nilagay natin, kinompress natin sa isang first half reviewer, iayos na lang to. Okay. This is the example. Petitioner A filed a petition for habeas corpus against respondent B with the Court of Appeals. While the habeas corpus petition was still pending before the Court of Appeals, Petitioner A filed an omnibus petition with the Supreme Court. So, nag-file pa ng another petition. He insisted that the petition can be transferred to the Supreme Court since the Supreme Court has administrative jurisdiction, supervision over all courts as provided under Article 8, Section 6 of the Constitution. So, is he correct? Pwede po itong matanong paano. Pwede mong tanongin sa remedial law, pwede mong tanongin sa political law. Depende po sa topic, sa subject, paano nyo i-address. Paano nyo sasagutin yung question. Dito naman kasi, nakalinya naman siya towards political law kasi binanggit dito yung Article 8. So, we stick to this. Pero pag tinanong kayo sa remedial law, paano nyo sasagutin? Elements of forum shopping. Diba? Elements of forum shopping ang sagot dyan. Okay, at saka ano pa? Violation ng doctrine of hierarchy of courts. Kasi lower court yung CA, di ba? May concurrent jurisdiction ng CA sa Supreme Court over petitions for habeas corpus. So dapat we need to file it in the lowest court possible. Pwedeng CA in this case ang nilagay na nga natin, no? Pero pwedeng RTC, pero the point is dapat hindi ka didiretso sa Supreme Court hanggang walang resolution ang lower courts. That's how you will answer it in remedial law. Pag sa political law, paano? You need to address what does administrative supervision mean. Yan. Okay? So he is not correct. No? The court's administrative supervision over lower courts does not equate to the power to usurp jurisdiction. Okay. Administrative supervision merely involves overseeing the operations of agencies to ensure that they are managed effectively, efficiently, economically, but without interference with day-to-day activities. Further, this does not allow the petitioner to violate the doctrine of hierarchy of courts. Ano po ba kasi yung ina-administratively, ano po ba sinusupervise ng Supreme Court, no? Sa Court of Appeals, sa Regional Trial Court, sa Municipal Trial Court. Sabihin po natin, maraming backlog. Delayed sa kaso, no? Clog na po yung dockets. Yan yung mga, dyan pumapasok ang administrative supervision. Isa, di ba? Pagtatanong yung Supreme Court, bakit mabagal tayo mag-resolve ng kaso? Yan ang administrative supervision. Hindi po sa jurisdiction. Ano pa po yung ibang mga ano po yung ibang mga parang ano po yung context no ng administrative supervision? Another is tatanggalin sa trabaho, no? Paano pag ayaw na nila, parang feel nila hindi po equipped, no? Hindi siya qualified to become a judge, to become a court of appeals justice. Then papasok ang Supreme Court. Ay actually later on pala 'yon. Sa next topic na, pwede mo rin sabing administrative supervision siya, no? Pero kasali siya kasi sa ano, mas precise pala yung disciplinary. Ito, exclusive power to discipline. Later on na lang pala yun. Anyway, ito po, no? Dito tayo sa administrative supervision muna. Ayan. Sige, tackle na rin natin siya, pero sabihin ko muna yung provision na yun, no? So, okay, nakalagay po dito. Anyway, yun yung una, no? So, pag sinabi mo administrative supervision, it does not mean jurisdiction. Administrative supervision just means overseeing that the lower courts, no, the judges and justices are doing their duties, functions effectively, efficiently, economically, and so on. No? Pakatipid sa budget. Ganon. Okay? So next tayo, Section 11. The Supreme Court has the exclusive power to discipline. Yan na tayo. Yung pala yung second ko ipapasok dapat dito, dapat sa next topic yun. Power to discipline the judges, justices of inferior courts. So, okay. Ang gagawin ko dito, kukunin ko yung Article 8, no? So that Section 11, para mas may context tayo. I-copy-paste ko siya in full. Yan. The members of the Supreme Court and judges of lower courts shall hold office during good behavior until they reach the age of 70 or become incapacitated to discharge the duties of their office. Okay? The Supreme Court and Bank shall have the power to discipline to discipline judges of lower courts or order their dismissal by a vote of a majority of the members who actually took part in the deliberations on the issues in the case and voted thereon. Ibig po sabihin ng first clause, ito po ibig sabihin yan. Yan. Yan po ang first clause. Ito po ang second clause. Yan. Ito po palang first sentence na to, hindi po kasali sa i-analyze natin ngayon. So the first clause, which is, no, which states that the Supreme shall have the power to discipline judges of lower courts, did not intend that all administrative disciplinary cases should be heard by the court en banc. This would result in an absurdity. Hence, if they are not for dismissal, they can be heard in division. Okay, ano daw po ibig sabihin nito? How do we interpret this one? Okay, ganito lang kasimple. Yung pong Supreme Court en banc, para po yan sa order their dismissal. Kailangan po en banc lagi pag pagpapatanggal tayo ng judge sa posisyon. Okay, so dapat lahat, hindi po siya division. Pero yung power to discipline judges of lower courts, pwede po kahit na division. Tandaan natin na pwede po kahit division lang, pwedeng i-discipline ang judge. Ano ba, yung warning, stern warning, ganyan lang, admonish, no? Suspension, pwedeng division. Okay? Pero kapag dismissal, unbank. Yan. The second clause is yung order their dismissal. Ayan. The second clause is order their dismissal by a vote of majority, blah, 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 who actually took part in the deliberations. So, in this instance of dismissal, the administrative case must be deliberated upon and decided by the court en banc itself. Okay? So, yan po una nating topic dito sa disciplinary power ng Supreme Court, no? Sa mga lower court judges, justices, no? Power to discipline, pwedeng division, pwedeng en banc. Discipline lang. Pero pag dismissal, unbank palagi, which is only right, no? Kasi syempre, tanggal na sa trabaho yan, eh, no? Next tayo, no, na topic dyan, no? Medyo natalon lang dito. Okay, so, ayan ulit, oh. Nakalagay dyan, di ba, the Supreme Court and Bank has the power, no, to discipline all judges, justices of inferior courts, and order their dismissal by a majority vote of the members who actually took part in the deliberations and voted their own, no? In combination po siya sa administrative supervision. Combo. What does this mean? This means that the president cannot remove justices, judges, and court personnel from their position. Only the Supreme Court has that power. Of course, may kaso lumabas dito. Fuentes versus Ombudsman, no? Sa Mindanao, 2001 case. The court ruled that the Ombudsman may not initiate or investigate a criminal or administrative complaint before his office against the judge. Kasi alam naman po natin sa RA 6670, 6770 or the Ombudsman Act, nakalagay po dyan, ang ombudsman may power na imbestigahan all public officers, whether mataas o mababa. All. Pwede po lahat maging susceptible, pwedeng ma-expose sa administrative case. Eh, di ba public official and judges and justices? So, paano ngayon? Pag nagkaroon, sabihin natin ng plunder daw, plunder, sabihin natin, tinailan yung judge. O yan, naka 60 million na allegedly nanakaw. Ano ginawa ngayon nung, syempre, nung ibang mga nag-file ng kaso? Sa ombudsman dinala. Sa ombudsman dinala. Ngayon, ang ombudsman, pwede po siyang i-treat as admin case, pwede rin i-treat as criminal case based dun sa same complaint. Okay. So ngayon, tama ba yung ginawa ng ombudsman? Sabihin natin, nag-file po sa kanya ng ganong action, no? Yung ganong complaint yung mga tao laban do sa judge. Dapat ba niyang i-initiate yung administrative case or mag-imbestiga laban doon sa judge na nakasuhan doon ng plunder? Hindi pa dapat. He must first endorse or defer the case to the Supreme Court for appropriate action. O sabihin natin later on, o sige, tanggal sa trabaho si judge whoever. Dahil nga merong misappropriation of public funds na naganap. Tapos na yon at saka lang po makakapasok yung dapat ombudsman. Saka siya mag-initiate na ng criminal case. Malamang wala ng admin at tinanggal na nga sa trabaho ng Supreme Court eh, di ba? Criminal case na. Okay? Prescinding from this premise, the ombudsman cannot determine for itself and by itself whether a criminal complaint against a judge, court employee, kasali pala court employee, hindi lang judges, no, pati clerk of court, processor, no, basta stenographer, no, kasali po, no, kasi personnel ng court yan, no. The ombudsman is duty-bound to have all cases against judges and court personnel referred to the Supreme Court for determination as to whether an administrative aspect is involved. Yung admin case, Supreme Court po ang didinig. Dapat, hindi ombudsman. Okay? This rule is true, no? Should be true, regardless of whether an administrative case based on the act is already pending. Something before the ombudsman is already pending with the court. Basta kahit sabihin natin 10 ang final sa kanya, yung isa po na i-delegate na i-refer na sa Supreme Court, yung sum na yun deferred pa din. Dali mo lahat sa Supreme Court for appropriate action. Aside from the fact that the ombudsman would not know of this matter anyway. Wag na yan. He should give respect for and recognition of the administrative authority of the court as provided under the Constitution. So you get the point. Tandaan niyo yun ha. Ombudsman, hinira ang kaso labang kay Judge A, sabihin natin kay Judge B, hindi na madi-dismiss. Tandaan niyo ha, the answer is not dismissal. The answer is deference, referral. Okay, sige. We're good there. Next tayo, no? Next topic sa Supreme Court, no? Sa judiciary. Okay, security of tenure, appointments to the judiciary are always permanent. Tandaan nyo to ha. Hindi po pwede ang temporary or acting appointment sa judiciary. Sa departments pwede yan. Temporary Department of Health Secretary, pwede yan. Acting Department of Health Secretary. Acting Secretary of Health, ganyan, pwede. Acting Solgen, pwede yan. No? Pero sa judiciary po hindi pwede kasi pag ginawa mong temporary appointment yung judiciary, yung pong independence ng judiciary, mawawala. No? Kasi magiging silang subject na sa discretion ni President. Di ba? Kasi hanggat hindi pinapermanent yan, kung hindi permanent lahat, di ba? Anytime, di ba, alam niyo, magiging susceptible siya for corruption. Kasi syempre, kung temporary appointment ito, pag nag-decide yan, baka mag-decide dyan ng, opposite sa kagustuhan ng presidente, baka tanggalin sa temporary appointment, di ba? So you get the point. Judiciary enjoys fiscal autonomy. What does this mean, no? Nailagay ko ba rito? Fiscal autonomy means, well, autonomy muna tayo. Autonomy means freedom from outside control. Nailagay ko ba dito yun? Wait lang, I'm gonna check. Kung hindi, i-discuss ko lang din sa inyo. Hindi ko na ilagay dito. It means freedom from outside control. So that means yung budget po ng ito pala. Okay, contemplates a guarantee of full flexibility to allocate and utilize the resources. Okay, of the judiciary. In other words, freedom from outside control. So tama naman pala ako, top of my head. Okay? Therefore, the court and bank can determine, ito tandaan nyo, kung gusto nyo mag-expand, no, kung talagang pabibo kayo sa sagot nyo, underlinean ko na lang ha. Yan. Tanggalin natin any kind of interference diyan. Ito gusto kong makita sa inyo. Okay, ayaw matanggal. The court can determine who, what, when, where, and how the privileges, the money, the budget, the benefits extend to. Any kind of interference is unconstitutional. Okay? As example, vetoing an item in the appropriations bill for the pension fund of the judiciary violates fiscal autonomy. Why? Because that president touched, controlled, interfered with the funds of judiciary. Hindi pwede. Okay? Pag yan ang inilaan para dyan, hindi mo pwedeng pakialaman. Sabihin natin, sa funds ng judiciary, may isang nakasulat dyan, 50 million para sa retirement fund ng mga, ex-justices of the Supreme Court. Hindi pwedeng pakialaman, hindi pwedeng i-veto yun. That would violate fiscal autonomy. Next pa, no, na important dyan sa pera, usapang pera, no. Ito, yung next. Ito po ang special features, no. Tandaan nyo, marami pong may fiscal autonomy bodies sa Constitution. Another is yung constitutional commissions. Ayan, may fiscal autonomy po sila. Kasi nga independent commission sila, right? However, wala po sila ng feature na to. Supreme Court lang po ang meron. Appropriations cannot be reduced by the legislature below the amount appropriated for the previous year. Okay, ito important dyan. Yan. May independence sila on how they will disburse, spend their money. At the same time, you cannot reduce, you cannot decrease the budget of the Supreme Court, of the judiciary. Dapat either stagnating, no? Pareho lang yung pera, or increasing. Hindi pwedeng bumaba. This means, sa iba pong mga may fiscal autonomy, no? Pwedeng ibaba. 'Di ba? May freedom kayo to spend your money, but we can dictate how much money you can spend. Nagiget niyo po ba? Dito, we cannot dictate sa judiciary po, we cannot dictate how you will spend your money, and at the same time, we cannot reduce your money. We can only maintain it or increase it. Ngayon pa, mas simple. Tandaan nyo, sa Constitutional Commissions, yung COMELEC, COA, CSC, may fiscal autonomy, but wala itong feature na to. So kung matatanong tayo, kung pahirapan tayo ng konti sa question, pwedeng lumabas to. No? Hindi pwedeng ibaba. Okay? Sige. Okay to, salaries. Okay na, hindi natatanongin yan. The members of the judiciary cannot be designated to any agency performing. Okay. This does not include ex officio positions held by justices, no? Ano po ba example ng isang position na ex officio? Ano po pala ibig sabihin ng ex officio? By virtue of office. Ibig po sabihin yan, by virtue of becoming a justice of the Supreme Court, you are also holding this other position. So, ibig po sabihin yan, you are actually not holding any other office eh. Your office, yung office mo bilang isang justice, meron ka ring another office pa. Get niyo po ba? Byproduct siya nung pagiging nung pagiging justice of the Supreme Court mo. Ano po example niyan, no? Yung pong JBC sa Judicial and Bar Council po, no? Sa Judicial and Bar Council, ano po ba ang composition niyan? No, ng Judicial and Bar Council nakalagay diyan, Chief Justice as an ex officio chairman. By virtue of his office as a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he is also the chairman of the JBC. Can we say that he is occupying or that he violated itong Section 12, Article 8? No. No. Administrative po yan, di ba? JBC, administrative ang functions niyan. It doesn't necessarily mean na na-violate natin Section 12 dahil member siya ng JBC. No, kasi ex officio capacity. Ang problem po natin dito, kapag dalawang appointment, basically, dahil In-appoint ka na as Justice of the Supreme Court, COMELEC Commissioner ka pa. Ganon. No? Yun ang bawal. Kasi may quasi-judicial ka na, admin din yun, no? Admin din ng COMELEC, pwedeng quasi-judicial. Tapos meron ka pang Supreme Court Justice position. Yan ang bawal. Okay? I hope you get the point. No? Ito pong ex officio capacity na to, babalik at babalik tayo dito, especially po saan? Sa executive department kasi sila talaga ang maraming inuupuan. No, sabihin natin, example na lang po, no? Pag secretary ka ng ng Department of Transportation, member ka din ng ng board ng LRTA sa nagma-manage ng light nung LRT ng Pilipinas, okay? Ex officio capacity. We will tackle this further later no sa Article 7. Okay. Next tayo. Ito na no. Ito ang kung milalabas po na tanong about this no. Sa Article 8, buti pala ito yung mga sinave the best for last natin. Ito po talaga ang pinaka-important sa lahat. The Supreme Court alone has the power to promulgate rules for pleading, practice, procedure in all courts, admission to the practice of law, and the integrated bar. Dito muna po tayo sa admission to the practice of law. Ito po nabanggit to saan? Doon sa PhilSat. No? Yung PhilSat po, naging siyang unconstitutional. Bakit? Hindi po dahil dito sa exclusive na rulemaking power ng Supreme Court, hindi po dyan. Naging po siyang unconstitutional. Mahaba yung kaso, pero binasa natin in full text. Kaya po siya naging unconstitutional because it violated the academic freedom of educational institutions. Dahil nag-PhilSat ka, binviolate may freedom ng universities to accept the students they want to accept in their law schools. Di ba, ang academic freedom, ano ba yung isa dyan na ginagaranti ng freedom na yan? Freedom from accept from freedom to accept di pa ano ba who what when where anyway freedom sa what to study who to uh, ano ba tawag doon anyway you get the point okay wag di ko na pahirapan yung sarili ko later ko na lang natin i-tackle sa academic freedom yan okay what to teach yung pala who to teach yun na naalala ko na they have the freedom to determine who to teach o yun pala yun yung students. Okay, so kaya po siya naging unconstitutional. Ngayon, ibalik po natin dito sa kaso na sa topic na to. Admission to the practice of law. Okay? Sabi, Supreme Court lang po ang merong discretion to determine who will be admitted sa role of attorneys, essentially, no? Doon ba sa PhilSat, dahil ba sa PhilSat na violate ito? The answer is no. Kasi po, ang PhilSat, hindi naman po niya nire-regulate who will be admitted to the practice of law. Ang nire-regulate lang niya, who will be admitted to the study of law. Who will be admitted to the study of law lang. Kasi, pag pumasok ka naman ng law school, it doesn't mean na makakapag-practice ka na ng law later on. Diba? So, hindi po na-violate yung rule-making power ng Supreme Court. Hindi po siya na-violate tuloy. Hindi siya na-encroach upon ng LEB. LEB sa sa executive department, no? Hindi po siya na-violate. Pero unconstitutional pa rin for violating the academic freedom. Yung law schools po ang na-violate. Okay, ang na-encroach, no? Okay, so you get the point, no? Yun yung isa. Next, yung power to promulgate rules for pleading, practice, procedure in all courts. So alam naman po natin na hindi pwedeng gumawa ng rules of procedure sa law. Hindi pwede yan kasi it will violate the power of the Supreme Court to promulgate rules for pleading, practice, procedure. Tapos ano po yung kanina natakil natin sa Morales case, no? Sabi, bawal daw mag-issue ng writ of injunction pag may investigasyon ng ombudsman. Unless merong exception yung prima facie evidence and so on and so forth, no? Yung pong provision na yon, it violated the right of the Supreme Court to promulgate rules for procedure siya actually. Pwedeng pleading and practice na din, no? You get the point. Okay? Yan po ang malamang tinatanong sa bar. At paano niya sasagutin? May nabanggit ako encroachment kanina, di ba? Kapag sabihin natin yung ganun nga, no, yung RA 6770, sino po ang nag-violate dyan? Congress. The Congress violated the doctrine of separation of powers. Why? Because it was the exclusive power, sole power of the Supreme Court to promulgate rules for pleading, practice, procedure in all courts. However, this law prohibited the Supreme Court from, or the courts, from issuing writs of injunction against the investigation of the Ombudsman, violating this provision and violating the doctrine of separation of powers. I hope you get the point. Okay, next tayo. The Supreme Court can appoint all officials and employees of the judiciary. Ibig lang po sabihin nito, all employees, officials na hindi justices and judges. Kasi alam naman natin na pag si justice at saka si judge, ang nag-a-appoint po niya si president. Okay? Okay. Ibig po sabihin nito, yung mga clerk of court, no, yung team, no, yung court attorneys, syempre, pag may judge tayo, may justice, no, kailangan ng court attorneys, mga researchers, no, para sa pagde-decide ng kaso. Yan po, Supreme Court yan. Okay, Supreme Court ang may approval niyan. Pero yung mismong judges at justices, presidente. Okay? Sige. We get the point there. Okay, move tayo. Okay, natakal ko na to. Ito pa next, no? Isang example pa nito. The prohibition on plea bargaining in drug cases is unconstitutional. Why? Plea bargaining is procedure yan. Practice sa courts. Plea bargaining nga eh. Di ba? Hindi siya pleading, of course, no? Practice and procedure yan sa courts kung paano po magpi-plea bargaining si piskal, no? At saka si accused, no? Under subject to the approval of the court, di ba? No? So why plea bargaining has been defined as a process whereby the accused and the prosecution work out a mutually satisfactory disposition of the case subject to court approval. Hence, plea bargaining, ganyan dapat yan, mali, is a matter of procedure, di ba? And RA 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act in prohibiting plea bargaining encroach, ayun na naman tayo, encroach into the rulemaking power of the court, violating the doctrine of separation of powers. Natakal ko na po ito sa LEB. Okay? Meron pa pala ibang mga topics, no? Let's tackle, no? The LEB imposed a requirement that law students must become interns, no? Interns sa law firms, no? Before they take the bar. Is this valid? No. Tandaan niyo po ha, nakalagay po dito before they take the bar, hindi nakalagay before they enter law school. Pag sinabing before they enter law school, hindi na po siya violation ng Article 8. Kasi iba po ang law school, iba ang admission to the practice of law. Admission to the bar, iba yun. Ang covered po ng power ng Supreme Court, admission to take the bar. To become a member of the bar. Okay? So ito po invalid kasi nga, hindi naman na-require ng Supreme Court na maging intern ang mga law students bago mag-take ng bar. So this is invalid for violating Article 8. Okay? Next, ayan. The LEB was given the power by RA 7662 for continuing legal education. No? Is this valid? Hindi rin siya valid. Why? Concerning naman siya, natakil na lahat. Concerning naman siya, the integrated bar. Kasi pag sinabi mo continuing legal education, ang context niyan, abogado na yung tuturuan. Di ba? Kaya nga MCLE para sa mga lawyers na. You need to continue your education, 'di ba? Kahit na lawyer ka na. So, if nagkaroon po yung LEB ng power to regulate, no? To impose orders sa continuing legal education ng mga abogado na, that violates the sole power, the exclusive power of the Supreme Court to promulgate rules, no, regulations for the integrated bar. Okay, MCLE, no? This must be promulgated, issued, no, regulated by the Supreme Court and not the LEB, an executive, a board in the executive branch. Hindi pwede. Ayan. Can LEB prescribe minimum standards for admission to legal education? Tingnan nyo, iba ha. Pag legal education, law school. Pag sinabi mo kasing continuing legal education, lawyer na. Asan law school dun? Di ba? Wala na. Okay, you get the point, no? Yes, the LEB's power to prescribe admission requirements refers only to seeking enrollment to a school or college of law and not to the practice of law. Kasi it doesn't mean naman na pag nag-enter ng law school, practice of law na. Study of law pa lang, in other words. Next, does the PhilSat violate the authority to promulgate rules for the admission? No. No. It does not. However, it violates the academic freedom of educational institution because it encroaches, no, yung freedom nila to admit enrollees who they want to be who they who they deem as qualified to become their enrollees, to become their students. Okay. Qualifications of members of judiciary, tandaan nyo lang, um, um, at least 40 years of age. Paano po yan, no? Mathematically possible din, no? Sabihin natin, 25 years old naging lawyer, benching ko, 15 years in practice, no? 40 sakto. Okay? Tandaan nyo, natural born citizen, no? Justice of the Supreme Court. Okay? Hindi pwedeng naturalized. Okay? Anyway, hindi nyo naman na kailangan malaman kung ano qualifications ng RTC Judge, Court of Appeals Justice. Hindi na kailangan kasi wala naman po sa syllabus nyo. Focus lang tayo dito sa qualifications of the Supreme Court. Nalay ko na rin dito. Yeah, should a justice of lower collegiate court be a natural born citizen? Yes din. Hindi pala. Medyo ko na rin pala. Nakalagay nga pala din sa ano dyan. Pag sinabing lower collegiate court, CA Justice, no? Justices ng lower collegiate court. So, Sandigan Bayan, kailangan natural born citizen din. Provided din pala siya ng Constitution, so covered din siya. Ang point ko pala, yung sa BP 129, judges, RTC judges at saka MTC. Natural born citizen requirement, not because the Constitution requires it, but because the law requires it. Specifically, BP 129 as amended. No? So I think dito, hindi na kayo aabot. Hindi na aabot dito yung tanong, no? Kasi hindi naman inassign yung BP 129 sa ano sa political law. No? Inassign siya sa remedial law. And sa remedial law, di naman kayo tatanungin kung ano qualifications ng judges eh. Tatanungin kayo, may jurisdiction ba yung court? Subject matter, di ba? Okay. Competence, natakalan natin integrity, probity, and independence. We're done with that. JBC, ito tayo. Okay, just read this one. Ito. Preview na lang din for Article 6 and 7, no? Sa COA, Commission on Appointments, no? Only one member from both houses may sit in the JBC. The tenor of Section 8, Paragraph 1, Article 8 is unmistakable. Ano po ibig sabihin nito? Kasi nagkaroon ng way daw, ang gagawin, isa sa Senate, isa sa Congress, tapos one half vote. Ganon. Di ba? So, nakalagay dyan, sinabi mga members daw, Chief Justice, DOJ Secretary, eto, representative from Congress. What does that mean? Sabi, pwede daw ba dalawa? Isang senador, isang congressman, tapos tig one half vote sila, 0.5. Bawal yung kasi nakalagay, hindi naman sinabing one half eh. Ang nakalagay po sa Section 8, Article 8, a representative. Ibig sabihin, isang tao. San po nagkatalo? Sa letrang A. A kasi, no? A representative. O, di tapos. Di ba kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, Constable, ulitin ko, it's about, dyan nyo talaga mapapractice yung proficiency nyo sa caudal kasi nagkakatalo po sa A, representative. Yun eh, sagot nyo. Hindi nyo na kailangan ng mahaba pang diskurso sa case law, jurisprudence, no need. Same thing, di ba dun sa Article 17? Plebiscite. Kaya hindi pwede ang piecemeal. Yung maraming installment na plebisito. Dapat one plebiscite lang lahat ng mga proposals nyo. Kasi, plebiscite. Representative. You get the point. Okay? Next. The regular members of the JBC shall be appointed by the President with the consent of the Commission on Appointments. Remember this one. On the other hand po ito, no, preview na lang din, ang judges, ang justices, no, hindi po kailangan ng consent ng Commission on Appointments. Ay, mali, 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 mali. Ulit. Nalito na. Nalito na. Okay. Ayusin natin, no. Okay, nag-second guess pa ako. Tama naman ako, no. Hindi na po kailangan ng approval ng Commission on Appointments ang justices. Why? Kasi na-vet na po sila ng JBC. That's the wisdom. Bakit naman double-double approval pa in the first place bago ka maging Justice of the Supreme Court, di ba? Sa Supreme Court na lang tayo. Naka-JBC ka na nga, ina-vet ka na. Di ba? Vinet ka na. So dapat hindi na ulit. Di ba? Same thing po ang ombudsman. No need. Kasi ang ombudsman, bago ka maging ombudsman o deputy ombudsman, Article 10 ng ombudsman, sandali lang, no? Ay, Article 10. Article 11, accountability of public officers, yan, no? Okay, tama tayo. Sabi po dito, no, ang ombudsman, the ombudsman, ayan, and the deputies. So, Deputy Ombudsman, tama naman tayo, shall be appointed by the President from a list of at least 6 nominees prepared by the JBC. Such appointments shall require no confirmation. Why? Kasi nga, na-vet ka na ng JBC. Grabe naman, na-vet ka na ng JBC. Ganun dapat, nakikita nyo kasi dapat yung wisdom, no? Yung practical, hindi, pag naman pala yung wisdom, masyado namang deep yun. Makita nyo lang yung practicality behind the provision para maalala nyo, hindi nyo makalimutan. Bakit tong ombudsman hindi kailangan sa Commission on Appointments, yung approval, concurrence? Kasi nga, na-vet ka na ng JBC. Same thing po ang sa judiciary. Hindi na kailangan ng Commission on Appointments approval kasi nga, na-vet ka na ng JBC. Okay? Hindi naman pwedeng doble-doble, napakahirap naman nun, di ba? Pero ang JBC, members themselves, sino ba nagbe-vet sa kanila? Wala, di ba? Wala naman JBC na magbe-vet sa JBC. That's why, kailangan ng Commission on Appointments approval. Ganun lang. Sometimes you need to make sense of things so that you can, parang, you can remind yourself, no? Para top of your head, whether nabasa nyo o hindi yung Constitution, months from now, sabihin natin kasi April pa lang, no? Baka hindi na kayo makapagbasa ng political law ulit, no? Kasi baka, syempre, may iba pang mga subjects that you have to consider. Commercial law, taxation law, labor law, para hindi nyo po makalimutan. Kasi hindi lang siya memory work, kahit pa paano, tinry nyo siyang i-understand. Di ba? If you know how to make sense of things, not just know things, but to make sense of it. Them pala, things, marami. Okay. Hindi nyo siya makakalimutan, even years from now. No? Like ako ngayon, pag nag-aano ako sa inyo, pag nag-lecture ako, hindi naman binabasa, hindi ko siya binabasa na, alam nyo yun. Anyway, gawa ko kasi to, no? Gawa ko yung reviewer, so kahit pa paano talaga na naaalala ko talaga yung mga ilagay ko dyan. Pero pag nag-discuss po ako, no, like halimbawa, merong issue, viral issue, tapos gagawa tayo ng opinion, mag-upload tayo ng video online. Yung mga ganyan ko po, more often than not, top of the head yan, top of my mind, top of the head, top of my mind lang, no? Kasi kahit na paano nadudukot natin siya kasi we made sense of things nung nag-aaral pa tayo. Okay? Kaya po hindi kailangan ng magbasa lagi so that you can provide parang a coherent, no? A reasoning that makes sense. That makes sense, no? Kasi maintindihan mo eh, no? I hope we study for the bar that way. Kasi marami kayong babasahin. You need to read a lot of things, you need to memorize a lot of things. The more that you can make sense of things, the better it is for your brain, your mind, and for your grade. No, hindi kasi pwedeng puro memory work palagi. Pag puro memory work palagi, mahirapan tayo. Baka dyan tayo magkaroon ng overthinking. Or ano pa, you're saying irrelevant things na sa question. Pag irrelevant yung sinabi mo, automatic, partial points ka. Okay, you get the point. No? I don't have to stress this to you even further. You get the point. Okay. Um, let's move to the next topic. Okay na to lahat. I think okay na to. So tandaan nyo, no? Ang JBC po, no, if there are 3 vacancies, sabihin natin sa Supreme Court sa Justice of the Supreme Court, no, 3 vacant positions. They must uh, have at least 3 nominees for each vacancy. 3, 6, 9. So total of 9, at least 9 nominees. Yung pang presidente, pwede niyang i-appoint sa 3 vacancies na yun yung first 3 nominees in the first list. As long as may 3 nominees, sabi, prepared by the JBC for every vacancy, dapat po, hindi, tandaan natin, no, pati judges of lower courts na lang din, no, both Supreme Court at saka judges of lower courts, binebet sila ng JBC. So, dahil binebet sila ng JBC, hindi kailangan ng COA approval, ng Commission on Appointments approval. Ang point ko lang, no, ulitin natin, no, if na comply naman, may 3 nominees for each vacancy, the President can fill the vacancies from the first list lang. Kasi that's the discretion of the President na. Okay. We get the point. Okay, sige. I think we're done. We're done with this. No? We're done with this. We can move na to the next. Ito, pakibasa na lang po itong jurisdiction ng Supreme Court, like yung ambassadors, etc. Alam nyo kung bakit? Kasi ito po, no, maganda namang nandyan. Pero this is a proper topic for remedial law na. Yung original jurisdiction over case affecting ambassadors, no? Certiorari prohibition mandamus quorum habeas corpus. This is a proper topic for remedial law na hindi na siya pang political law. Basahin na lang natin so that we are parang covered yung basis natin. Pero ang prediction ko, kung matatanong man tayo sa Article 8, hindi po dito. Okay, we read it, no? At the end of the day, read it para maging diligent tayong students. But don't worry too much, no? Kaya natin yan. Question, is the decision of the division of the SC appealable to the SC in bank? Kasi po, baka malito kayo. Sa CTA po, ganyan. Yung ruling ng CTA division, hindi pwedeng iaakit mo agad na Supreme Court. That's wrong. Sa Court of Tax Appeals, yung ruling ng division, kailangan dali mo sa CTA en bank muna, unbank, bago ka mag-Supreme Court. O sa paano pa ang Supreme Court pag nag-ruling ang CTA division? Kailangan ba mag-appeal ka to the CTA en bank? No. The decision of the division is actually a decision of the Court of Appeals. In other words, the division can establish judicial precedents. Okay? Sige. We're good with that. Next video natin, we'll tackle constitutional commissions, no? So, kung mapansin nyo, ginawa ko yung dulo muna. Saka, anyway, kasi ang ganda naman sa constitution talaga kasi, hindi siya kasing parang hindi mo kailangang parang sa remedial law kasi dapat strict yung order mo eh. Rule 1, Rule 2, Rule 3, Rule 4. Hindi pwedeng mag-skip-skip ka. Sa consti po pwede, no? Kasi lots of topics but the topics are not as related. Yung correlated, hindi siya as intertwined dun sa remedial law compared sa remedial law. Ang sa constitutional law 1 po, no, maraming independent topics. And you can discuss them, you can learn them, you can study them however you like. No? Basta sabihin natin, pag sinabi mong legislative department, tapos yung may buong legislative department, and then you jump to judicial, pwede yun. No? Kasi independent nga sila eh, di ba? Separation of powers. We can do that. So next video natin, CONCOM, and then we go back sa Article 6 and 7, tapos patapos na tayo sa Consti agad, no? Ganun lang kabilis, no? Yung palang police power po, ang gusto ko sa kanila, sa fundamental powers of the state, itatakel ko sila sa Consti 2. Why? Kasi po yung eminent domain mismo, nakasulat siya sa Bill of Rights. No? Nakasulat siya sa Bill of Rights. So para sa akin, in my opinion, no, maganda po itakil yung fundamental powers, ipasok natin siya sa Consti 2. That's the first reason. Kasi po yung forcible entry. Forcible entry, yung eminent domain, nasa Bill of Rights. At the same time po, yung police power, maganda siyang i-relate saan? Sa substantive due process, Section 1 Bill of Rights. So medyo ang parang stray lang na topic doon yung taxation, pero isabay na rin natin. Okay? Isabay na rin natin. Anyway, sa taxation naman, kung matatanong man kayo, ang prediction ko about taxation, kung matatanong man kayo dyan, sa taxation law mismo. Di ba? Doon sa, first day PM schedule, COMTAX. Doon kayo matatanong ng taxation law principles under the Constitution. Pero we will still cover them dito sa political law lecture natin just in case, no? We need to be diligent. Okay, so ganun po, no? After nating sa judicial concom, pupunta tayo ng legislative, executive, and then constitute na tayo. Constitute na tayo, no? Tapos fundamental powers of the state, tapusin natin yun. And then section 1, section 2, section 3 of Article 3. Sige. Thank you for listening, watching again, no? Concom tayo next video.